Today we're driving down to Fort Smith, Arkansas, down to play a show at JJ's Grill in Fort Smith. And who knows, a lot of times when we're driving down to Fort Smith, we have some entertaining conversations, so we'll see what happens. Alright, so last week we posted our first show on the channel, which is a lot of fun. She played down at JJ's on Dixon Street in Fayetteville with a full band. It was pretty fun. So,
shout out to those guys.
Sorry you're not coming down to Fort Smith, or you're welcome for not having to drive down to Fort Smith.
Sorry, Fort Smith. We love you.
Yeah, no, it's not a thing. It's just we have to drive so far to get there that. So, where are you from?
I am from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
What was the music scene in Oklahoma City like?
It was really good, man. Like, I was, this would have been the 90s, mid-90s into, you know, about 2008, where I was super active in the scene there. Kind of cut my teeth back in the day by, you know, playing fraternity parties and things like that, whenever that was the main way to, you know, reach people. It was convenient, it was fun. Had a lot of great years doing that. So much so as even like the likes of like bands that I super looked up to that were awesome at the time and went on to do great things. Even like I remember playing a party and John Mayer was playing across the street when he first came out with his Room for Squares stuff and trying to build his career. It was just a really cool scene, selling CDs out of the back of your van. Look, we were lucky enough to have an RV. I'm proud of saying that. That was like a rite of passage, I think, for a band back then. Back then it was like
an RV, bro.
Get a record deal, like that actually meant something.
Right.
But that was one, right? And then getting an RV. It was super important to the guys I played with. But I was taught and got to cut my teeth with bands that were hyper successful in that area, that were about anywhere from 8 to 12 years older than me, such as the likes of the Nixons, the Flaming Lips, Wakeland, Trippin' Daisy out of Dallas, Soul Hat out of Austin. We were super fortunate enough to be able to mingle with those guys when we were really young. Those were my idols back then. Not that I didn't like Pearl Jam or the people that were already massive and being marketed, but to be perfectly honest, those were like the people I idolized and wanted to be like. So, you know, in a nutshell, that's kind of how it was then, man. Really DIY stuff before internet allowed us to, you know, expand the possibilities of how we could reach people. So.
Yeah. So you kind of were at the very tail end of that music scene in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
The door kind of shut right as you were sort of halfway in, halfway out.
Correct, yeah. I mean, it became apparent that those other bands had kind of moved on. Dallas still had a really good scene, and there was residual stuff going on.
Right.
You know, like, what are the things after an earthquake, right? I mean, that was...
Aftershocks.
Yeah, those aftershocks were still happening, which provided us great shows and things, but yeah, the door was shutting very quick on that. I mean, there was... Red Dirt was starting to come in. There was a band called the Red Dirt Rangers, which are pioneers.
Cross Canadian Ragweed.
Cross was a band that went to Yukon High School, and my band went to Putnam City North. We knew and played with those guys. Super, super great dudes. I was fortunate enough to become friends with their drummer, Randy, and in that time period. And I'm so happy for their success and wish them all the best in the world. They deserve it. But that scene was kind of starting to happen, and we'd already put some really big ground and legwork, 3 independent records that sold pretty well out, that it wasn't in our DNA.
Yeah, what kind of music did y'all play?
To change. We were, in my opinion, were a, you know, basically a pop rock band. It was not punk pop. Rock and roll, you know, derived, but definitely that pop kind of element. And when I say pop, I don't mean Backstreet Boys.
But in the vein of like the Nixons.
Yeah, there was that after grunge kind of sound that wasn't as hard as Foo Fighters, but wasn't like Coldplay.
Unfortunately, kind of at the very tail end of that.
Right. So we had elements and a little bit of the aggression of grunge that we were, it was in our DNA from listening to it and thinking it was popular. I didn't write things like that. I was the primary songwriter, so really just being true to whatever was coming out was kind of our goal. I had really technical musicians that were with me as well, so they shined a little bit of that side of it, where I'm more of a kind of slacker rock kind of guy, in the forms of like Lemonheads and things like that I really get into. But yeah, that was kind of the music we were in, and we were entrenched in that. And so when the country red dirt scene, we just kind of, I felt at the time I didn't want to do something that I wasn't already, I didn't want to fake anything.
Right.
And so definitely talented to do it, but we thought it was, for better or worse, an idea to kind of stick with what we were doing.
I don't think you're going to have staying power as a band if you're faking it. I think you might be able to fake people out for a little while, but...
And I'm not trained enough to be that guy, to be perfectly honest. Like, the reason why I have to memorize songs and I don't use other forms of stuff like that is simply because if I'm not, like, really engaged in giving it, then I'm just not... I've never felt I was good enough to even be in one of those bands. And try to, like, fake an Adam Duritz voice or do whatever, And so...
Yeah.
Hopefully, I kind of use that as a chip on my shoulder a little bit on to be able to define to other people that I played with what I can bring to the table.
Yeah. So Dirty Flannel Shirt started in 2017. So right prior to 2017, what was going on in your world?
Right after, the kind of band I was just talking about, I was lucky enough to manage and then become a guitar player and assistant songwriter for a band that was very short-lived, called Red Light Nights. It was
Nights spelled with a K.
Yeah, Nights spelled with a K. It was exciting and awesome. I was the grandpa of the group, bunch of 20-year-old guys with me, but the vibe was the grunge, I'm sorry, the what am I trying to say, the garage rock kind of revival.
Yeah.
Starting with Jet, and then Kings of Leon kind of championed that. And
yeah, it's another band that had its start in Oklahoma City area.
Yeah. So honestly, life happened, I guess, is the easiest way for me to say it. We were on a really good track to do stuff. We were looking for financial backing to get us overseas. This gets into the business side of music. And by that time, my wife, Taylor, got pregnant. And I basically, was faced with that decision, growing older or whatever. And the band was starting to plateau a little bit. The work that was going to have to be done, I don't think was going to be okay for my living situation and my wife. And I made a decision to kind of hang it up. And when I did,
Not hang it up with your wife, but hang up the music.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, hang it up with that certain group. When I did that, a couple years went by or whatever, and I was still involved in music, but we ended up relocating to Northwest Arkansas, where she was from. She went to OCU and was a dancer and had a little bit of a name here, and we wanted to continue art on for one of us, since my kind of time was fading, and she had supported that for a very long time. We just picked up and moved here, which was a great, love this place. It's awesome. Love Oklahoma City, don't get me wrong, but it was time for a change and to get her into a situation that maybe, she could make a living at doing that. And so I stopped playing,
so she's
period.
Right. She's a dance teacher and opened a dance studio. Right. So my daughter was a dancer, and she danced in the studio, and that's how BJ and I met.
So with the 2017, what had happened, is I had been here since 2014. I was commuting a little bit back and forth for work, but I was a little burnt out on music, to be perfectly honest. I never looked back in any kind of like remorse at the decisions I made to continue on as long as I did, but I had gotten to a point twice that, you know, where you can touch it and then it kind of got ripped away, and I was, for whatever reason, we were at fault for a lot of that as well, not just business things.
But still, getting that close and it not happening is pretty brutal. And then the age and all that, I just kind of got disenfranchised with all of it and thought I needed a break. So when we met, Murray's children were growing older enough to where he didn't have to be as hands-on. Yeah, it's kind of what happens with a musician. You know, you in your 20s, you play all the time, and then you find the love of your life, and then you have babies, and then you raise babies for a season, and then once those babies get old enough to drive or, you know, take care of themselves, and then you ease back into playing if that's what you're passionate about. Yeah, so Murray was like, as far, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to speak for you, but he was back out pursuing this. Yeah, we were out playing. And I just wasn't there, and I had just a baby, Leo. My other son, Remy, was kindergarten, basically, so I was in the thick of that. We just moved, opened a business. Didn't want to blow smoke to anybody, and I was a little disenfranchised still with what I wanted to do, or even if I wanted to do anything at all again. So Murray politely asked if I wanted to play, and politely said, I can't right now, and I don't want to. You told me you were completely burnt out. I was completely burnt out, yeah. I mean, I didn't want to feed him any information that might be like, hey, yeah, man, because I am a codependent soul, but I literally at that time, like, had nothing left. So. Right. In fact, you said you doubted you would. I said, I don't know if I'm ever going to do that again. Yeah. I said, all right, well, that's cool. That's fine. But let me know if you ever want to. I just wanted to play a show with him. I thought it'd be fun. My thing is, I like to play with, I don't know, as many other musicians as I possibly can. Not long term. I don't have to start a band with everybody, but it's fun to do a show and trade songs back and forth. And because, you know, I think it's fun to sit in with other people, and that's all I really wanted to do with Beach, maybe. But it wasn't the right time. But then about a year later, through the grapevine, I hear that you're out playing shows. I was like, all right. Yeah, that was real random how that worked. My wife's brother had a good friend that would, back in the day, of those other bands I was talking about, would get me really neat shows here in Fayetteville, like big shows, and he had a connection in with, you know, I guess booking through some other folks, and had lived here from the small town to how big it's grown now, which is awesome. And so he kept on asking me. He was like, man, I have this stuff that's available. It's no pressure if you don't want to do it. If you want to do it. This other booker guy? Yeah, this other book guy. His name is Tracy. Thank you, Tracy. Peace out, Tracy. Tracy Goff. Love you, bud. So anyways, he was working hand in hand with a local brewery, and it's a couple $100 a show. It was a craft beer place. I had never had craft beer in my life, and I like beer, and so I like beer. It kind of seemed like a very, 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 you know, non-stressed way to just go out and have fun one night. It was low pressure shows. Low pressure, unless you were playing during a hog game, which I found that out pretty quickly. Don't do that. And it was beer, it wasn't food, you know, there were no other distractions. So I decided to do that, and the studio was open, and Murray was there with his daughter one night and had heard that, I mean, I think I was on my like second or third show, and he said, can I just come and sit in? And I had felt the ease of the show and how laid back it was. I'm not a perfectionist, but I'd like to run through a few things if I play with somebody, you know. But at the time, I was like, who knows? I might have been terrible. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, we didn't know really, right? So the lore with it is that we played the first show together, really never playing together. And So we hadn't even rehearsed before that.
Like
we
at
just
all.
kind of sat in and traded songs. Yeah.
Yeah, in a sense. And so, like, I remember leaving the show, which was great, by the way. It was way more than I expected. And I remember leaving the show and thinking the chemistry and the ease of that wasn't anywhere near the work that I thought I was going to have to put in, that I did not feel I had time or energy to do. And so it was like, when I first said no, that I couldn't do it, and so I was like, okay, well, this is gonna be creatively inspiring, I feel like, no matter what we're doing. And it sounds lazy, but I don't feel like I'm gonna have to put, a 9-to-5 work in on this deal right now, because where I come from, and he knows this from playing, I mean, that's, when you were selling CDs before internet and stuff, you had to put your work in, man.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying you don't now. I'm just saying those were the parameters if you really wanted to do it, right? And
Well, your eggs are in one basket. You're trying to make this band work so that you can make enough money to survive. I mean, it's your job.
Right.
Playing some shows on the side is a way lower stakes.
Yeah. And so with the ease of how it worked out between him and I was like, cool, and he was grandfathered in. I say grandfathered in, he had earned his right into a lot of places that you might think are easy to play around here, because we have an abundance, I was surprised, of places to play, but like, it's competitive, man.
Northwest Arkansas actually has a pretty good music scene.
Yeah, and a lot of this stuff, if you want to get into the weekend slots, even at a restaurant gig, you gotta earn it, which is cool. And Murray had already earned it, so I'm the kind of the princess of the group that walked in to a lot of his hard work. But we believed in the product enough to where he was okay with just doing that, even though he had put in all the work for it. So, I mean, without scratching our backs too much, really within like 6 months, I believe, it might have been longer, we were booked just about as much as, we were just blown away. I mean, there were times before COVID kind of, hurt a lot of the service and music industry. I remember being booked like almost 10 times a month, 8 to 10, which is a lot, and a lot quick, in a singular area.
Yeah, and it's a new duo getting together.
Yeah,
needing 3 hours worth of music like that. That's quite a bit.
It's a lot, but it was exciting, and it was gratifying, right? It's definitely motivating to get that kind of response, whether it was from people, internet, or even just simply, bar owners, people that are in the business of selling things other than you. It was great having them call back and be like, you know what, you guys are awesome, and
people are not there to see you.
Right.
This sort of shows what we do. We're there to help the place sell beer and sell food.
Yeah, and we were old enough and weathered enough to know what atmosphere we were in. We're not confused. We weren't like selling tickets online, even though we have before. But we weren't like selling $25, $10, $5 tickets to come to certain venues to see us. It wasn't necessarily the avenue that him or I were really interested in, which gets us into the whole, your video about the cover versus original thing. But like, we didn't feel any shame in that, as long as we could artistically express together what we thought was fun and cool.
Yeah.
So that's kind of I say it's a short story, it's kind of long, but I'm kind of long-winded.
Let's see if we can't play some of your favorites. In between a couple songs you don't care for. I guess that's how it works, right?
maybe another topic that I want to talk about. Maybe something that, you know, if you're a musician and you're thinking about success and how to define it. What is success? What is I think whenever I was like in my 20s, I think it was a become famous or bust mentality, and then anything less than being as big as Guns N' Roses or John Mayer or
100%,
Beyonce, then you're a complete absolute failure. And
Yes.
it's kind of this binary thinking. You're either a winner or a loser. You're either doing it or you're not. And the danger there, whenever you think in binary terms of whether you're successful or not, is that you don't allow yourself to celebrate the little breakthroughs along the way. And I think I think the fear is that if you celebrate a success that you've had along the way, then somehow you're letting the foot off the gas and it'll all completely come tumbling down. And that is not what happens. In fact, I think your longevity as a musician will be enhanced by learning how to celebrate the victories that happen along the way. Whenever you finally get to play that stage that you never thought that you were going to get to play, or you finally get put on the festival bill of that festival that you always wanted to be on, you know?
100%. Yeah, and the fear of, on the other side that you're talking about, the fear can be dismantling to what you were trying to do anyway. I think everybody...
Burn you out.
Yeah, exactly. There's so much mental stuff that goes on with a lot of artists that I think that it's so hard to get through. But the ones that don't worry as much and the ones that don't have and put all that pressure on themselves seem to be the ones that, you know, break through the easiest.
There's a funny thing about success. Generally, you slowly build more and more success the longer you're in the game. So the trick isn't to get your one shot and make it big. That may happen, but it doesn't happen for most people. I think, you know, it's a longevity game. It's staying in there. It's keeping on doing shows. And after a while, all the other people who are just in it for the fun, they move away, and all of a sudden you find yourself being one of the acts that's been around the longest. And it's just because you stayed in the game. You can't win the game unless you're in the game.
Or he told me the funniest thing, you know, and when we started playing, you know, that we'll kind of dismantle that. It took us till we were in our 40s to really not give a shit, you know, which
boy, that helps a lot, man.
Gave so much more freedom to whatever generalized rules there are to do this or not do this.
Well, in my 20s, I thought that would be the reason that I completely failed, but by not giving a shit, like you said, suddenly things started working and opportunities started coming, and it wasn't because I wasn't trying or putting effort into it.
Right, it's just that
I wasn't so laser focused on the singular way that I defined what success was.
Absolutely.
I have to be in a stadium playing in front of millions, or I'm a complete failure.
I struggle a lot with wanting to be a rock star instead of a musician. If that makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
So
the great thing about, I think I said something in the last video about, you know, you get to an age where you realize there won't be any agents in Los Angeles or Nashville clamoring to get your phone number because you're the next big thing. It's like, no, you are eligible to be the next big dad rocker. And so once that stress is off,
for real,
once that pressure that, and you know, what are the chances that was going to happen anyway? It's silly. But anyway, when you're relieved of thinking that you might make it, or that you have to be cool enough to be noticed,
right?
Then all of a sudden, a lot more shows open up. Music is a lot more fun. And I think if you're having fun, people notice, and then ironically you have more success. We're fixing to drive through a mountain, yo. Oh my gosh.
Woo! This is actually really cool. My children freak out about this.
The only problem with tunnels is people slow down in it. I don't think they know they're slowing down, but they'll enter the tunnel going 70, 75. By the end of the tunnel, they're going 55. It's really...
Yeah, I know. Both of us have road rage, so watch out. Don't slow down!
Watch yourself!
Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to sing a song that we wrote. This song is about true love and being fixated on that special somebody who's on the other side of town, but you can't wait to see them because, good golly, they make you happy and make you feel good. Make your swimsuit place glow in the dark. I'm thinking about you, hope you think about me, and all the places that we're gonna see tonight. We're gonna see it tonight. I've been thinking about you all week. We're gonna make it tonight. Can't keep my mind on what I'm supposed to do. I'd rather spend all my time with you, that's right. I'll be with you tonight. I've been thinking about you all week. We're gonna make it tonight. Well, I lost my keys, I can't find my car, keep finding my thoughts on where you are. Left my house unlocked, all my bills are unpaid, 'cause tonight I know I'm gonna get. What is that? Can't watch TV and play my guitar. I keep thinking about where you are, that's right. I'm gonna see you tonight. I've been thinking about you all week. We're gonna make it tonight. Well, I lost my keys, I can't find my car, keep finding my thoughts on where you are. Left my house unlocked, all my bills are unpaid, 'cause tonight I know I'm gonna get. Put some fresh jeans on and my hat on straight. Put you up on this truck on the old tailgate tonight. I'm gonna see you tonight. I've been thinking about you all week. We're gonna make it tonight. Well, I lost my keys, I can't find my car, keep finding my thoughts on where you are. Left my house unlocked, all my bills are unpaid, 'cause tonight I know I'm gonna get. Yeah. Well, I lost my keys, I can't find my car, keep finding my thoughts on where you are. Left my house unlocked, all my bills are unpaid, 'cause tonight I know I'm gonna get. You're wondering what I was gonna say. It's the end of the week, it's Friday, and we're gonna get paid.